Okay, so in this video, we're going to do a very quick comparison of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE to the all-new Apple iPad 10th Gen. Let's go ahead and jump in. Alright, first things first, comparing these reminds me a lot of a video that I made of the Tab S7 FE to the iPad Air 5th generation, simply because the iPad 10 shared the same body style as the iPad Air series. Now keep in mind that this is not an apple-to-apple comparison, no pun intended there by the way, but I'm making this video because quite a few people have requested it. Let's go ahead and first compare design, starting off with the iPad 10 here. We can see a drastic change in design when compared to the previous generation of the iPad in this same series. This is more of a modern look, you know, with uniform bezels as you see here on the front face of the iPad there. It's boasting a fairly large display, right, at 10.9 inches when compared to the previous gen. The Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE, on the other hand, is boasting an even larger display at 12.4 inches, and it also has a very modern look as it mimics, you know, that of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Plus, along with those same uniform bezels. Now, neither one of these two tablets come with a headphone jack, but you will find your typical, you know, physical features on both, meaning the power button, the volume rocker, keyboard connector, USB Type-C port, and so forth. Then on the iPad, you will see a quad speaker looking audio setup here, but in fact, it only has 2 speakers. On the Tab S7 FE, you will find a dual speaker setup tuned by AKG, and in my opinion, the sound quality coming out of the S7 FE is not only louder than that coming out of the iPad, but it's also crispier than the sound coming out of the iPad. Now, no fingerprint sensor here on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE here, but on the iPad 10th Gen, you do have a physical fingerprint sensor in Touch ID, and it works extremely well and is very secure. So we can definitely say that you have a better device unlocking experience and ease of access on the iPad as opposed to the FE. Now on the back of the S7 FE, you will find an 8 megapixel camera, whereas on the iPad, you will find a 12 megapixel camera. Now in my testing, the quality is better on the iPad, but not by much when it comes down to the main camera here. I would actually say that they're about the same, to be honest. Now on the front is where you would find the main difference. On the S7 FE, you have a 5 megapixel camera that can shoot 1080 videos, whereas the iPad has a much better 12 megapixel camera that can do 4K videos. And it is also loaded with center stage, of course, so it supports center stage, and the quality here is much better than that of the selfie camera on the S7 FE. Now, I did briefly mention displays earlier, so quickly going back to the display here before we talk performance, the iPad 10 here is boasting a liquid Retina IPS display that can go as high as 500 nits in terms of brightness with a resolution of 1640 by 2360. So you're looking at a PPI of about 265. So it's fairly dense. Now, it has all of that going, but you have to keep one thing in mind. This is unfortunately still a non-laminated display. Now, on the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE, we are looking at a TFT display with a resolution of 1600 by 2560, and the PPI here is actually 243, so 243, along with a brightness of about 509 nits. So it seems to be slightly brighter on paper, but in reality, it seemed to me as though it was brighter than, you know, the display on the iPad, even though the resolution is about the same, and in terms of brightness, you're looking at it being measured to be about the same. Now, image quality would be a tiny bit sharper on the iPad 10, given that, again, the PPI is slightly higher there, but when you put them side by side, they look about the same. And again, in my humble opinion, things do look a bit better on the S7 FE. Now, it could be because, you know, obviously it's a larger display, so things would pop a bit more. I've noticed for sure that colors do seem to pop a bit more here than they do on the iPad. Additionally, this was made and calibrated by Samsung, of course. I should imagine you can only expect, you know, some great stuff coming from them when it comes down to display. Additionally, this is a laminated display when compared to the iPad, right? So you have a laminated display on the S7 FE here, meaning watching movies, playing games, navigating the internet. It's just, you know, excellent in terms of user experience. All right, let's go ahead and cover performance here, starting off with the iPad 10th Gen, which is running Apple's A14 Bionic chip along with 4 gigs of RAM and a base storage of 64 gigs, which is, by the way, non-expandable. So if you buy 64 gigs, that's all you get, minus, you know, however much the system is going to take. Now, performance itself has been just excellent on the iPad here. No complaints so far. In fact, it actually rivals, you know, I would say that it rivals the performance of of some Android productivity tablet in terms of just raw performance, although it could use a bit more RAM. Now the S7 FE on the other hand is pushing a Snapdragon 778, also comboed with 4 gigs of RAM along with 64 gigs of internal storage, which on the other hand, unlike the iPad, is actually expandable. So if you buy the base one with 64 gigs of internal storage, you have the ability to expand that at up to 1 terabyte using a micro SD card. That's always something that is appealing with Android tablets. Now in terms of performance here, pretty good and on par with what you would expect from a mid-range tablet. You won't have any issues, as long as you use it for what it was built for. Now that said, when comparing both, the iPad actually can tackle heavier tasks faster than this one, because of course it is much more powerful than the FE here. However, the Tab S7 FE will allow you to be more productive than the iPad, right? Simply because of the ability to multitask that is pretty much native to this tablet, along with the support for Samsung DeX, which, the iPad does not have. On top of that, it does support a Samsung S Pen, and you have even more features for that stylus, and that will help you accomplish a lot more despite not having as much raw power as the iPad. Now, the iPad also does support a stylus, specifically the first gen Apple Pencil, but you will need an adapter to get that to connect and work with the tablet. Finally, of course, let's go ahead and talk battery really quick here. On the S7 FE, you have a much larger battery than on the iPad, making the S7 FE last a bit longer than the iPad. Now, on top of that, the battery on the S7 FE is also fast charge capable at up to 45 watt, which is not supported on the iPad 10. All right, with all of this being said, here's my take. The iPad 10 at $450 or $550, assuming you want to go ahead and include the Apple first gen Pencil, is just not worth it. I mean, rather than that, just go ahead and buy the iPad Air. It will offer you better value and it's a better tablet. But I digress. If you are in the market, let's say in this particular case, you are in the market and you are looking at specifically these two, your choices will depend on what you would like to achieve with your tablet. Meaning, if you are looking for something that will help you be more productive and, multitask and also offer excellent value, I would say, go ahead and pick up the Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 FE. But be mindful of the fact that it's been around and there aren't that many more years, of support left for this tablet. However, you'll still be able to use the tablet even after the support expires, from Samsung. I've explained a number of times that, even after the support expires, you should still be able to use your tablet. Now, if you are looking for a tablet that will offer you Android flagship, level of GPU and CPU performance and will be supported longer, I'd say go for the iPad 10. But also, just like with the S7 FE, be mindful of the fact that you won't be able to, multitask as much as you would with the S7 FE. But that's just my take. And I certainly hope that it was informative and that it helps your purchasing decision. Let me know with your questions in the comment section. Also, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share this if you know anyone who'll be interested. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. I will catch you in that comment section. I'm also going to catch you in the next video. Up until that next video, of course, as always, stay safe out there.